you, Becky. We really appreciate it.
All right, so we're recording and I'm gonna try to make sure that the camera is on the candidates.
So, everybody in the Democratic Committee knows this, maybe they forgot about it, so a reminder, but we do have members of the public here, and we're very pleased that you have come to join us this evening, so that you can see this process that we go through as we interview people who would like to be endorsed by the Maplewood Democratic Committee to run the township. Right now, we're one of the only municipalities in the state of New Jersey where people who are running for local office only, can all appear on the city line. So it's not just the number of seats that are open, we have to go for as many people as we feel qualified to be able to make the Democratic line. Now, this year, we only had 2 people. Yes, ma'am. Right. So my original intention was to do that before. I think for the public, they came here to see us interview these candidates, so I've switched things around a little. If everybody's okay with that. That being said, we've had only 2 people submit their requests to be endorsed by the Maplewood Democratic Committee this evening for this year. We're very fortunate in 2 long-serving and hard-working members of the Township Committee would like to run again. They're the ones who stepped forward this evening, so they're here to see. The way we're going to do this is I've asked for each of them to talk for a couple of minutes about their background, the work they've done, why they want to serve on the Township Committee again, and why they want to be endorsed for the Maplewood Democratic Committee. And then we're going to open it up to questions. Now, we appreciate members of the public being here, but I'm going to give opportunities to ask questions first to Maplewood Democratic Committee district leaders, and then we'll allow questions from the public. Right, so thank you all for being here. And with that, I don't know which one of the 2 who wants to go first.
Not you, but alphabetically, you go first. I know, I was the first one every time. So good evening, everyone. I have some notes so I don't go too far, astray with my yakking away. My name is Nancy Adams. I'm a member of the Township Committee right now and currently serve as mayor. And I'm here to answer any of your questions and tell you a little bit about my background that you may or may not know, and ask for your endorsement to be candidate on the line as a Democrat for the Maplewood Democratic Township Committee. So I'm in the last year of my 3rd term right now, and I continue to enjoy the work on the Township Committee. And this year, being mayor, has brought a whole new perspective to me as I govern with my colleagues. I've enjoyed being a bit more involved in the day-to-day operations of our municipal government and being more involved in the economic development part, which is something I've been doing professionally for almost 30 years in my work in downtown development and revitalization. So my work in other towns too also informs my work here on the Township Committee and also as mayor. I've enjoyed and I've been effective in making changes to our code that address some of the zoning issues that we're experiencing now. We're currently working, as Mr. Gaffis can tell you, on our demolition process for permits, because we're seeing more and more people come to town and take down existing houses. And so in conjunction with that, we're also looking at ways that our existing zoning is working, and why a house being built on a lot suddenly looks so much more massive, even though it's in compliance with our setbacks and our height. So that's the part I really enjoy that. Dean and I always like hatching through these ordinances and kind of figuring out the unintended consequences and what we can do to make things get the results that we want. So we're very thoughtful and careful about it, but it's actually one of my favorite parts of serving on the township. I believe it's also true on other committees and subcommittees. I worked on, this past year, I worked on a subcommittee with South Orange for over a year. We met to try to revise our recycling and get more bidders for hauling, because we were only getting 1 every year. So we worked on that. We went through the process of trying to do the best we could with our recycling to get a cleaner stream so that more of our recycling that's picked up would actually get recycled. And this ended up saving taxpayers over $100,000 last year. And that was the first year with our new recycling program. And I was really important with my mouth on the committee to make sure that we communicated it really well to the public. We came up with a logo and we pushed out information as much as we could so that we could get compliance and people would get confused. So I think we handled that really well. And it was also the impetus for starting an SMS text messaging system rather than just the Nixle emergency alerts or road closures. Now we can use this system going forward with just regular updates like Woodstock is this weekend, things like that, so that we can communicate with the public about it. We've also talked about, I've been very involved with engineering and public works since I've been on the township committee. And I've pushed for green infrastructure improvements with all our road programs. And this past year, we won an award for our rain garden on 4th Street. And this is to try to control or at least mitigate flooding and stormwater runoff that we're dealing with now with climate change. My initiative that's made me rather infamous, tri-state area, has been gas-powered leaf blowers. We are the first town in New Jersey to ban the use of these dirty engines year-round. And that's been something that actually this past year, as we monitor it closely, we noticed that we collected fewer leaves, less bulk of leaves, less weight of the leaves from the streets. And we believe that's because with the gas leaf blower restriction, both landscapers and homeowners have started mulching their leaves into their property more, resulting in, more being left on the property, better for the property, and also saves us money and more taxpayer dollars saved by these kinds of environmental initiatives. It's really been important. We've also, with the environmental issues that I've become infamous for, I guess. But we've committed now to replanting our trees to keep our tree canopy, there, because they're getting old, just like we all are. But this tree ordinance, we're setting up a tree fund that we're working on right now, so that people can pay into the tree fund, so we can replace trees as they're removed instead of just having them. So these are just a couple of examples of things that I've done on the township committee. And the issues that come before us are always evolving and changing. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of discussion, a lot of thoughtful discussion. But it's what I like most about serving. I love this community. I've raised 5 kids here, and they've all gone through the schools. And when I moved here in 1989, I became an activist that I had never been before. Working to get some things that I saw that didn't make sense, like Fifth Avenue didn't make sense. So working in all these areas, I think that and my work experience really gives me a strong foundation for serving on the governing body. And I've done it with integrity and honesty. And whether or not people always agree with my position on something, it's a thoughtful position. It's not just me with no knowledge. I find out what I need to know, and I put it out there and agree or not agree. This is my position. Some things are honest integrity. So I ask for your support again to be on the Democratic Committee line and to run for office. So I'm happy.
So with that, we'll go around to the district leaders first to see if anyone has a question.
Are we doing questions one by one or?
We can do both questions. How would people prefer to do it? Would you prefer to ask questions both the candidates together or after each one has made their presentation? We do the same. Okay.
At the same time, that addressed to each.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I'm up now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but are we waiting till after they both go?
Yeah, so it seems as though people like that.
Okay, so
Why don't we
wait.
turn it over to Jamaine?
All right.
Well, like Nancy, I also am here seeking your endorsement for the Democratic line here for our next election. In June and November. My name is Jamaine Cripe. I am a 20-year resident here in Maplewood, where I raised my daughter through public schools here. And very much like you, was raised to be the volunteer. My mom and my dad were military. And well, my dad was military, my mom was a nurse. But their entire mindset around it, being one of 7 kids, was that you give back. So the idea of taking from a community and not being a part of the community that math didn't math in my house. Everyone needed something to do, be it working in the church as a Sunday school teacher to being on student council. We were always involved in various activities, trying to help make the area that we were living in. And I've just grown up being that person. And ultimately, even in my job, I started working at the current place I've been working at for the last 14 years as a volunteer, and they just kept me. So this is the 3rd year of my first term serving as a member of the township committee, and it has been a educational experience to say the least. But in a good way. I mean, there've been good days and there have been bad days, but there've been more good days because there's always something that can be there. And I just am excited about a community like Maplewood that actually wants to see it every single day. So I can say that I'm very, very proud to be a part of helping endorse and helping support Nancy in all her endeavors within the environmental work. This is the only planet we've got. The decisions that we make today affect our kids tomorrow. In fact, the decisions we made yesterday are already affecting all of us. So we've got to do that. And sometimes that means you're not going to give people what they want. I'm okay with that. Again, maybe it's that military mindset, you don't always get what you want. But my dad had this mindset that you can actually have a conversation, interaction with somebody that everybody leaves with a frown on their face, but with something in their hand, you did it. And so that's what I'm looking to try to find that balance where we can all have a little something, even if we don't ideally get it. Which was apparent and which was in a way part of what I had pushed for last year with our ordinance that allowed for the public pool, which unfortunately is out of the price range for many people who live in this community to be a part of. However, now with climate change, we have more 100-degree days than we've had ever before. And we have members of our community that are at risk, being impoverished or being older, needing access. So I was very happy to be supported by my fellow township members in pushing for an ordinance that allowed us to have a pool anytime the state of New Jersey calls a heat advisory. So now members of our community, whether or not you're a member or not, can go utilize our municipal utility and stay cool during the summer months. Another thing I was a part of, which I was very happy about, which is coming soon, I'm so excited. We've been trying for a long time to get a splash park as an alternative to membership in the pool in Maple Crest Park, which is the park just across Springfield Avenue. Unfortunately, that wasn't in the cards due to COVID pricing and various things. It just became too big of a project. However, a committee of people who happen to be in our neighborhood, actually Lightning Brook, came to me in regards regarding some of the access issues for our autistic and differently able citizens. And I work with the seniors a lot. I live in this building sometimes. And that was a concern for many of them as well, going to the parks and not being able to find equipment that they could use that was below enough to the ground for them to be able to get on comfortably and sit without injuring themselves. More shade structures so that when they're in the park, they can have a little respite from the heat. We recently have applied for, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna get it as an optimist, the grant is called part of Jake's Law, which would allow Maple Crest Park to have an inclusive all-access playground put in place. And a part of that is going to be shade structure and framing and equipment that kids utilizing any kind of device, mobility or other, will be able to be a kid like everyone else. Also with our seniors, who I love to pieces, they have been really pushing to try to find ways to make New Jersey affordable. A lot of our elder population as they get older, their kids are moving away, their spouses are passing away. They're finding that the taxes in our community are getting to be a bit much. So when they downsize into a home that's more affordable, they still want to be able to be a part of a vibrant community. So having an electric bus coming in November to make it possible for our seniors to be able to do things like go to Atlantic City or go to a museum together, to do things as a part of a community and still be valued because we made sure that that was available for them. This is their bus. It's not the Maplewood electric bus. It's these seniors electric bus. That's for them. And so I'm hoping that again, with a lot of the other initiatives that are coming through, the affordable housing work that Committeeman Gaffis as well as Committeeman DeLuca have been working on for many years, that hopefully in the very near future, Maplewood will become another place where seniors can stay. Because our seniors are the ones that made this community so attractive to us in the first place. It's not fair for them not to stay. So I want to make sure my neighbor, heck, I want to die here. Well,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I would like to stay here until I cannot stay here any longer due to my age.
Yeah.
I need to be cared for more carefully. And so I thank you for your time. And I look forward to working with all of you, whether I am endorsed by you or not. Like I said, I'm a lifelong volunteer, so if I don't do this, I'm gonna be on somebody's committee. You're gonna see me. So thank you for your time.
I would like to point out that you would notice that we established the mayor this year, but some of you may not know that Jamaine was voted by the entire township committee to serve as deputy mayor this year. So she's serving in that role this year as well.
I know. Thank you, I appreciate it, but
They had to leave her.
I don't care about the title. I do the work without the name. I just been doing it.
So I always tell people when I was the deputy for Fred didn't like doing weddings, so he used to have. to do weddings.
You didn't like doing what?
Wedding.
Weddings.
Oh,
I love it.
yeah,
It's like, don't throw me under the bus.
an opportunity to invite your block.
We're optimistic here, Nancy.
Anyway,
So, we'll open it up to questions. So we're gonna open it up to questions. District leaders first. I see Mitch's hand going up. So Mitch, why don't you go first?
Yeah, hi, Mitch Gross, I'm District 4 leader. When people run for public office lately, like the press and the public sometimes use the word wonky as a bad word. I love that. I'm looking for somebody who's wonky, and you sound good.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna dig into code and stuff like that. But I think I saw on Facebook a proposal that you were getting together for the development of the block in Main Street on Maplewood with the movie theater. And I get chills immediately, and I'll just throw it out there quickly why. One of the things I think that we're all getting really sensitive to is yet another apartment building or yet another cannabis shop, right? You know, I mean, those of us who were here for Superstorm Sandy know that the only thing that's changed is more population density. We have the same access roads though, and now half the people who will be trying to come or go or leave will also be hot. So so I'm wondering if you could tell us anything about what you're seeing for that development.
yeah, well, the meeting Thursday night is one of 2 scheduled community meetings, and it's really, yeah, this Thursday night at the Wood. It's really to get input from the community to, we designated the area, all but one building is, planner said, fits the definition for a redevelopment area. So this area needed redevelopment is several buildings, but it's a non-condemnation area, meaning the owners of the buildings are the owners of the buildings, and then they can negotiate privately with, we don't have a developer lined up yet. We wanted to get this out to the public before any developer came to us so that the input from the public can inform what we tell anybody who comes in to develop, whether it's the movie theater, whether that's a lease or a purchase, there's a huge number of question marks. It'll take a lot of time to get a plan in place. Once we get input from the public, we'll work with our planner and and the planning board gets to opine on it as well, and then we develop the redevelopment plan. And then we can go out and try to get something to happen. There have been people looking at it. We have a few interested developers from different parts of the area have looked at it, but again, there's nothing set yet. So the input Thursday night and the next meeting on March 14th will be to get input, and then we can use that to develop the zoning regulations for that area, to what we might allow or disallow. And to your point about cannabis shops, we only have 4 licenses.
That's have to have a little. That's good. I mean, a lot of us felt like we didn't know until the post office was going down that an apartment building was going up, and it was a done deal. A lot of people felt like it.
Yeah,
Right.
That's awesome.
Well,
But I
in
love
this case, there's no developer lined up
At all.
Good.
And one other thing that we're looking at, because I know a lot of conversations on Facebook that have been going on regarding this. We are also aware that there are a population of people, our seniors in particular, who don't drive it. So they won't be able to physically go to that meeting. I'm in discussion right now with Mr. Wary, our business administrator, to see if we can have any kind of online version of it, so questions can be asked from the site, as well as making it available for us to continue to get input. We all have email addresses, so just because you didn't make it to the meeting doesn't mean you can't communicate with us.
Yeah.
Send us an email, you get them all the time. So just send your questions, send your concerns, and they will be considered. Again, it's gonna have to go through planning, and it's gonna have to go through code way before any major.
This would be a good thing to contact our district members.
Let people know exactly.
Any other questions? Okay.
Yeah, and we have a, Steve, if you want to go first, that's,
Ah, there we go. Steve Sig, so we have Steve Sigmund, who is a district leader in District 19. He's on the Zoom call. Steve, we're gonna ask you to ask a question. Becky might repeat it because we're not getting great volume. So Steve, go ahead. You might be muted, Steve.
No, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Great, thank you guys. Sorry it was quiet, but I'm so sorry I'm not there in person, and thank you for taking the time and for doing this in person. Can you guys talk, Nancy and Jamaine, about state aid to municipality, and particularly the school funding aid? What you see, do you see a role for the town council in advocating for more aid, as it seems to have been going in the wrong direction in the last couple of years, particularly as it affects property taxes? Do you see a role for the town council in that? And if so, what? And how do you kind of fight for more of a share of a shrinking pie, so that this property tax situation is a little bit ameliorated at least? Thank you.
I think he was asking about
State
state
aid.
aid for schools.
State in the school.
Yeah,
Well, both school funding and the competitive grants, competitive the municipal grants.
Something about.
on competitive municipal grants, state aid for the schools and
yeah.
competitive municipal grants.
Well, I mean, I think we always put through our assembly reps in particular, and previously it was Mila, because she was so involved in education. So we advocate, I think all of us do on the township committee, whether it's as a group, with a resolution asking for something, or if it's us just talking with our representatives in the state to push for more. I know my colleagues have stated it publicly at township committee meetings numerous times about our frustration with the lack of state funding that we get, but so.
But at the same time, the state funding that we do get, and we're responsible to make sure we spend it wisely. It's our job to be good stewards of the money that we gives us. And I feel that a lot of the questions that we have, particularly with how the money is spent, we don't have a whole lot to say. We're not really in control of how the school spends its money. We are in control of it and how much funding they do get from us. Regarding any improvements or changes that they need to make. So we have to be wise, and we have to listen to the community's response, and we also have to think about, again, the future. Before Maplewood is going to, and if something is coming down the pipe, or if people who are in positions are not being responsible and doing the work they need to do to maintain the infrastructure and facilities that we've got, then it's our job to call them question. It's great to point fingers at people, but if someone has been assigned a task and they're not doing it, and no one is holding them accountable, that's a problem. And some of the emails and things we've gotten questioned, particularly about our turf, the conversation that's gonna be happening on Wednesday. This conversation is being spun in a way that actually is not holding accountable the people who are responsible. Money has been allocated, money has been given for a very long time, and the results have been subpar. Who's responsible? So having those questions and having those questions be made in our lesson meetings or in emails and conversations with our peers on board of ed is our responsibility. And encouraging our community to do the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Becky, Shannon has a question too.
Yeah, sure. Shannon, do you want to go? Do you want to unmute? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. So, excuse me. Actually, it's a comment and a question. So I think it's important as we're talking about looking at township representatives of our community, and just want to lift up and acknowledge both of you for coming and supporting over the weekend, the CHS Student Spectrum Club for supporting the Vigil for Next Spectrum, and being able to come and support in the town as a whole for LGBTQ plus students and students that are marginalized as a whole. I think it's so important for our representatives to be able to support student leaders, and I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for that during this time.
Thank you, Shannon.
Sorry, we're getting emotional, but those are my kids. Where I work, 3/4 of the students in my program identify as gender or non-binary. Those are my kids. That could have been my kid. So no, you don't get to treat them any old way. And it's our fault that this stuff has been normalized. And it's our fault. It's our job to fix it. And I plan to do that. I absolutely plan to do that. We're having a conversation now about making this town a community as a sanctuary for folks if they have to come for not only abortive rights and reproductive justice, but if they were looking at gender reassignment surgeries, that they would not be limited to or removed from town for doing those things. We're putting it on us. This will be a safe space for all genders, always, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Shannon. Becky's been waiting a long time, so we'll let
You
her.
can go, Fred. I'm talking a lot, though. I'll go first. All right. I'll try to keep it short. Thank you both for coming to our forum. This is the first one we've done in person, so hope it's going well tech-wise. So my question is about turf and your position on turf. So I mean, both my kids are soccer players in town. Well, actually, my older son now plays in Newark for Ironbound. And he plays at Riverfront Park, which is a turf field, and it sits right on the Passaic River. And I personally think that Newark got this right because they don't advocate for a grass field, even though this is right on the Passaic River. They think it's important to let kids play. And I personally think that this is the same situation we have in Maplewood. We're not as densely populated, but we are past that threshold that our demand for student athletes surpasses what grass can provide for them, like by a lot at this point. And I am so impressed like with the Ironbound Community Corporation. I think they're the gold standard for like research-based environmental advocacy in our state. They've done so much in the Ironbound neighborhood. But one of the things you don't see them doing is advocating for grass fields because they know that our kids need a place to play. So we travel between our whole family with both my kids. We go to soccer fields all over the state. And in my experience, it's really hard to find grass fields that are in decent condition unless you go out really far to like Somerset County or down in South Jersey to the Pine Barrens. And I speak on behalf of dozens and dozens of families that I know in this position. Their kids play on turf. We're thankful that they're open during the summer. It's not true that turf fields are unplayable or are dangerous during the summer. Hundreds of kids I know play on them throughout the year. But I know that you feel differently. So I'm wondering, or I think you feel differently. I'm wondering what communities you do look at as models in our maybe nearby us or in the state which are similar to ours in terms of demand and population density, which have been able to effectively use grass fields so that they meet the demands of all students.
Let me just say that county put in the.
Yeah, I know.
It's not the municipal parks.
I know it's a county park, but that's where all the kids play and their teams.
No, but I want to make that, just state that that was the municipality that did the county.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good point.
Well, going from that perspective, I actually, the two communities I've been looking most at have been Union, right down the road, and Boston. And in the case of Boston, they made an intentional plan not to have the digital turf fields as part of their municipalities programming. But as a part of that, again, the accountability piece put in place. They made sure every one of their field maintenance people knew how to maintain the field. They had maintenance people out there encouraging coaches to make sure that the field was rotating properly. You're not supposed to play the same direction all the time. Switch it up so the field lasts. There are different things to do, and they made it a point to do that. Now, private schools and private institutions in Boston have turf fields, many of them do. But many of them have actually, after having a turf field and watching how Boston has been able to maintain it, have trained their people, and now they have natural fields. They're going away from turf more and more in Boston.
And they're able to meet the demands of
Their
kids?
people, absolutely, but it's because they have an intention out there where they have people trained, to take care of the field properly with a timely schedule that's maintained. And they have people that are on site to actually make sure when coaches are out there, when kids are out there playing and they're not supposed to be, the field's supposed to be resting, to tell people, hey, you can't be on the field right now, sorry. Gently, kindly, but firmly, please let the field rest. They're doing this, and it's working. We also, with Union, one of the conversations I've been having with a couple of parents in town that are also soccer families, and one is a field hockey family, is that the fields are available all the time. And that is not true. If you drive down Burnett, right here, right now, that field's been put away since Thanksgiving. They roll up the field and put it away. But Union's Department of Public Works has trained all of their people who maintain the fields how to put the field in rotation properly.
The
Meaning
field
that's
on
Burnett
Burnett?
has been closed since November.
Aren't they putting in new turf, right?
No, they've rolled it up. Those plastic bags are.
Because I mean, my son played for that team for a while and that was not.
They rolled it up and put it away for a period of time. It's resting right now. You can use the track on the outside, field itself.
Oh, this is the first I've heard of that because he would play on that all winter for years.
They're putting it away now. It's being put away because the proper use of the field to make it last 10 years, there's downtime for turf too.
Okay.
And there's also maintenance for artificial turf. They don't like to just call it turf, because grass turf and there's artificial turf. And so it is artificial turf. So I've been, since the DeHart field thing, it was pretty obvious where I stood on that. I think fiduciarily, it's not responsible to spend millions of dollars on something that has to be replaced in a few years. I wouldn't spend millions of dollars on a house that I'm going to take down in 8 to 10 years. So I think it's not a fiduciarily responsible decision to use artificial turf over grass. Now, it's not to say we don't spend anything on the grass. I'd rather we spend the money, which is considerably less money, to redo an existing grass field and keep it grass. With regard to Ritzer, problem I'm having had 5 kids go through the school system, they use that field, the kids use that field all day, every day. They use it at lunch, they use it after, they use it for the what do you call it? The things where you go high in the fields. All my kids love that part. And I hope that's not. But it also environmentally, right or wrong, it is an environmental issue for Valley Street from Milburn Avenue or from Vauxhall all the way to Scotland Road in South Orange has almost no pervious coverage. Everything, the whole thing is paved, there's parking lots, there's impervious coverage everywhere on the street. And so I have concern about flooding and stormwater. The biggest concern and the biggest question with regard to Ritzer right now, and the number one question that the Board of Ed has to answer is whether or not it is in fact a DEP wetland. It's designated wetland on the DEP map on the NJDEP website. So there's like a ton of issues with this, and I'll just end with, because we could go on forever, and we're gonna be dealing with this for hours on Wednesday night. But the US women's soccer fought and sued for the last several years until they finally won, because they wanted to play on grass fields like the men have always done, instead of the artificial turf they were playing on, because they were getting injuries, because the cleats that they wear are not really designed for artificial turf, they're designed for natural grass. And so they were getting more injuries.
We-
They-
Yeah.
Speakers, though. Sorry, I just want to point out that there are special sneakers for turf when you play in turf. It's not an
Okay,
issue.
that's
And
fine,
as
but
a parent of kids who play
I'm
in
just
turf,
telling
they've
you the
got,
fact that the
I,
US
okay,
Girls
but
Women's
I don't know
World
whether we're wearing.
I just want to remind people that, we have a piece coming up to the public. We are going to ask questions, and then we're going to turn it over to the public to ask questions, okay? So Cripe, better.
So Nancy, you know my stand on climate.
Speak
But
up.
as a person who's had children and grandchildren with very long birth fields and breast fields. And the door that's
It's being recorded.
all I'm gonna say is you're gonna have a hard time pushing back on people who have this experience with kids.
all my kids play soccer.
Yeah.
I was an athlete as well. I wouldn't want to play softball.
My question to you is, there's one environmental issue that everybody. You and I, and that is the tree pack. And you know why you get way too much. Okay,
I agree.
and as somebody who was responsible for the tree ordinance in the first place, I don't think it's been enforced to its fullest extent. And I think that the quality of the advice that the town is getting as to what trees need to be taken down, or which ones need remedy by trimming, is not first class. And I want to know, this being I say, we've got to do something about saving trees in a town that's named after a tree.
Yeah.
So I want to know what efforts you have in mind to enhance that tree. Or trees, especially the enforcement of that.
Yeah, we've already changed that for the last couple of years. We now have a notification, required notification by certified mail for anyone who is going for a tree permit to notify, tree removal permit to notify any abutting neighbor. And that's been part of it, so that those neighbors know that they're applying for a permit so that they can then appeal it. And so either the neighbors can appeal it, or if a tree removal permit is denied and the resident wants to take it down, they can appeal it. And they appeal it before the two members of the township committee, the arborist, and our, DPW, as far as whether or not the two members that are on the sustainable neighborhood right now, it's big. So we have improved the process, made it more transparent.
So know all about, I want to know what's going on in terms of enforcement, not just the process. I know that stuff. I know the ordinance very well.
Well, I know that with Paul, Mr. Kittner, our township engineer and supervisor of public works, he's been actually trying. Paul Kittner, our supervisor of public works and senior engineer, has been working with his team, in particular the maintenance team. There hasn't been enough training, there hasn't been enough education for law development and women. And that's one of the goals that Paul has for this year. And one of our goals as well is to make sure there's funding set aside for those folks to get that education. We've got records right down the road, it's brilliant field maintenance program, and we're not taking advantage of it. So instead of doing these one-off clinics that are offered by the county or the state, we're trying to get them in the actual training.
So specific to the trees, though, we also are working right now on our tree ordinance, which we already worked on, but we're amending it to add for the tree removal, a tree fund that I mentioned before, to require, and the cost will be determined by how much it costs to plant a tree and replace it somewhere else in town if they can't do it on their own property. So they either have to replace or they have to contribute whatever it is, $300, $400 to the, in addition to the permit. So we're working on it. And of course, you know as well as I do, that people are sometimes aren't very nice and they go behind our backs, put things down anyhow. And then they get caught and then they get fined and prosecuted.
So,
Yeah, the fines are stiff.
fine.
Yeah, they are.
Sure.
So I want to thank both of you for tonight and also thank you for your service. I'm very satisfied with both of you as council people and as mayors, and especially in Nancy professionally. And I'm very happy with the focus on land use and maybe look at that it can be sustainable. Also wanted to say, the new definition for a half story. I have one.
Yeah, we're okay. Send it to me. I mean, we're looking at like the top story, the third floor can't be more than 50% of the floor below.
I have more
Area.
detailed one where
Okay.
that, and it's a difficult calculation, but it works.
Thanks for seeing it.
So any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
John?
forgive my ignorance. You guys are running for reelection?
Yes.
And so that I understand, it's not that you're running for council and the top two vote getters become mayor and vice mayor?
No, it's a committee form of government, and every year at the reorganization meeting, the committee chooses its chair and vice chair, and we serve as mayor, deputy mayor for the year.
Thank you.
He's going on a few months, so good. Any other questions from district leaders at this point? Okay, so, so for the members of the public who are here, thank you for being here. This is going to be an opportunity for each of you to ask questions of the people who are seeking the endorsement to our committee. It's not, certainly Nancy and Jamaine can answer your questions. You don't want to engage in a debate if you have strong issues that are different from their response. But we do ask that you ask them questions so that you can learn more information about them and we can learn more information about them as we make our decisions about whether to endorse. So when we do call on members of the public, if I could ask you to just state your name and your address. We want you to hear your address because your district leader may be here and it would be good for them to know you if you're in their district. So you were the first one here, so we'll go to you first.
I was the first one here.
Not the public.
There's a lot of people here.
You're the first member of the public here, that's
I
why.
didn't know that no one else was here from the public. Nice to meet you all. Okay. I wasn't ready for, I'll ask a question. My name is Taylor Valentine. I live at 77 Woodland Road. And, I really just love being here. Dad, I'm really proud that I'm sitting here tonight. Because I really love this town. I've been here 4 years. I got a little girl 9 years old, a boy 5 years old. And, I guess that's where my question's gonna stand. It's sort of, we can talk about long-term. My son's maybe in high school, it's 9 years away. But maybe in the next 3 years, what should I expect will be different for my kids? There'll be a real improvement here in this town.
Different in any regard?
Yeah.
That would be an improvement. Well, the all-access playground
My
might be.
playground will be there, hopefully in the next few years, because it's currently being worked out with our community pool advisory committee. That the pool will be self-sustaining and the membership will go up, so you'll have access to the pool, great, it's affordable, more affordable than this now. The school district will hopefully continue to thrive and do better. We're in the process of searching for a superintendent right now. Hopefully, a lot of the issues that we've been experiencing in some of our schools will be better. The long-range facility plan. Okay. The long-range facility plan is in place, and it should be finished, hopefully, the funding by that time period. So your students won't have to experience what my student had to experience with ceiling tiles falling in the building. And rooms and sections of schools that would be sweltering hot and freezing in others. Hopefully we'll have a school district that lives up to the reputation and the amount of money that it was spent over the years, because our administration will be held accountable for the work that is and isn't being. One of the things I hope for in a way, but at the same time I dread being the bad cop, but someone needs to be the bad cop. There's a lot of people that are not carrying the weight that they're supposed to be carrying. And instead of it being pushed down as an unfortunate issue of letting kids play or letting it be hoping space for girls. How in the hell did we get to the point where we have 10 years of athletic directors and no one said anything about the fact that our softball girls were sent 2 miles away with no provided transportation? And now all of a sudden it's a problem? Why didn't anyone speak up before then? It was not an issue, and who was supposed to be called and held accountable? Because there were 3 different athletic directors that were put in place during that time, and none of them changed it.
So I would just add, we are committed, the township committee, we have been committed the last couple of years on addressing the trees, and all of us on the township committee, at least currently, definitely support funding, replanting trees to the tune of about 300 trees a year in our parks and on our streets. That's it's vital to, dealing with the climate change. And our rec department has expanded under Melissa Mancuso, is really thoughtful and loves to expand the services of recreational for kids activities and kids stuff. So there's a lot of those that you can still look for.
So hopefully the new
I know,
library.
that's the library.
And hopefully.
James over there trying
I
to.
know, he kept putting his hand up for the L, and let's. Yeah, the library.
So, yeah, the new library, hopefully late, mid to late fall will be open.
I hope your child will be able to bike from one end of the town to the other safely without worrying about whether or not they're gonna get hit by a car. We will have bike lanes in place and available signage to let people know they need to slow down. Our law enforcement will be enforcing speed rules. I am coming across kind of like the principle, everybody's in trouble, everyone needs to be responsible, but that is kind of a problem. Folks have been away from one another and lost that ability to talk, and say, hey, you know what? It's not working out for me, we need to improve this. We need to start doing it and holding those folks.
That's sort of what I said there's just always issues and it's always the problems, always something that's coming up, it's never ceases to be.
Your
So
kids will
things will
have
change
change.
all the time.
Your kids will have friends all over this town. We've gone to birthday parties from the art center all the way over to there. You'll have experiences throughout this whole entire community, and there will be a corner that your kid doesn't feel comfortable and safe visiting. I want your kid to feel like maybe what is that they're home at, but they don't want to leave. That's what I want. I want my kid to stay. So I want yours too.
So we have a question from our newest district.
Get it, Ted.
Before I get to the big back to you, but we're gonna go, Ted to sit first.
One question that I have, and Garnet can, that's it. And it was one of the things that when Sean was, after he spoke, he was asked what he would want to focus on, and my focus is on safety. Safety in all of our streets. And I mean, I joke about it when it actually angers me because our stop signs are optional. You know, it's okay.
They're optional.
It's optional, you know? So, and that's when we work to get the thinning lines on the street, the speed bumps, the stop signs. You know, one of the, and along with what you're saying is when I was growing up here, I would get on my bike on South Center Street in South Orange next to Seton Hall and ride all the way over to Toys for All, where, I mean, now dating myself.
There you are.
But Toys for All was a toy store, but it was on the other side, you know, on Springfield. And but coming over here to 2, 3, 4 miles, you know, I'm riding past Underhill and
What were you buying? What was so good?
it was the toy store to go to, you know. We couldn't get to Toys R Us on 22, so we went to Toys for All. So, but one of the things I really want to focus on is the safety of our streets, because the one thing about the Lightning Brook Hilton section is it's a cut through from Springfield Ave, from over by the bus depot, straight over, and you can come out over on Vauxhall, you can come out, but everybody just cuts through the area. And it's not regulated like it should be. You know, everybody's speeding, everybody's cutting everybody off, running stop signs, going through intersections. And that's one of the things that I really want to focus on our safety. But I mean, because you see the signs, drive like a kid lives here, but nobody pays attention to it.
I have one.
Mine got stolen. So I don't know where it went, you know, but it's to make our streets safer for our kids, for our kids' kids, for us. I mean, we're not moving as fast as we used to. So, but it's just to make it safer. That's one of the things that
We do address pedestrian safety and she's chair of public safety committee. And I've been on engineering and public works committee for 8 years, and we deal with this on a regular basis. So we have a whole system, you know, from what you just said before, of having an analysis done by our engineering department to see what and if traffic calming is required or is something that would work on a street and is, yeah, well, the enforcement is
That's my part.
police. But we do, we address this all the time. Case in point, Maplewood Avenue at Jefferson. That's been a problem at that intersection for decades. And I think we finally solved it by using stop signs, which every engineer will tell you is not supposed to be used for traffic calming. But we're like, well, nothing else has worked. And it was steep slope, so we had an odd intersection above it that we put in four-way stop and then the same at Jefferson. And it's really made a difference in that intersection. So, you know, we look at it just like I was saying before, we evaluate it and we see if things are warranted, like traffic calming.
I mean, if I'm sure, I'm sure Dean's seen them. I'm sure everybody's like, I'll sit in an intersection and just record, and you see people just float through the
Yeah,
intersection.
we've been nagging our police chief
Yeah.
for a while this past year.
Yeah.
We get tired of it too. We're like, we need the enforcement, and that's something we've been pushing, especially this last year.
Yeah, and I hope that they're gonna get there because between the community, the board on policing, they're hearing from the community that there's certain level of policing that they're hoping not to see ever again. But at the same time, there's a certain level of policing that people want to see. And perfect example, the traffic intersection at the end of Burnett here. I regularly see people swing wide around it, but recently, the police officer hanging out in that Walgreens parking lot. And when people swing around it, that police officer right on. So we're starting to see some of that. Well, hey, you know what? Don't cut through the face. It is simple. If the painted lines and the metal spikes in the road tell you not to make that turn and you decide to do it anyway, you deserve that ticket. Sorry, you deserve it.
Speaking of policing, what's your vision for an enhanced level of police and community relations here in Maplewood? I have lived in Maplewood now for 29 years. And I can tell you over the course of those years, the number of police officers who would actually come through and wave a hand and try to connect with the community. I haven't seen that. We have a block party every year. Everybody a block party. And, you know, we make some relations and then perhaps, I don't know what happens. It just doesn't exist after an engagement like that. And we know the value of police and community relations from the standpoint of safety, but it all starts with trust.
Right.
So I'd like to hear from you what you all are doing, either individually, collectively, but more importantly, what's your vision for that? Because I think that could make such a big difference in our community. And please, you know, let everyone know that the neighbors are here to help, but they have to engage us. And I'm very engaging, but I can tell you, many pass by, people wave and they look straight ahead. So I like to hear that.
One of the things that I love most about our current police administration, Chief Sally, as well as Deputy Chief Malloy, is that both of them want to hear back from you. They have had their doors open, they give out their emails. A couple of times they've given out their cell phones. They make it a point to get out to public events. But you're right, there's a certain amount of give and take that has to happen that hasn't quite gotten through our community. And the law enforcement teams have been really actively trying to find ways to communicate, hey, here's some suggestions of ways that you as a civilian, as you as a member of this community can make your step, your home, your car, your safety better. And we're seeing the change every month when we get together. There was a period of time in Maplewood where anytime you pulled in front of a store, there was a car left behind because that was practice. It's a Jersey thing. I don't get it. But you get out of your car, you leave it running, you go in a store for however many minutes you come back, and then you're surprised when you come back that your car has been stolen. Well, guess what? You left the keys in the car and it's running. You might as well print a red sign, free car here. But the law of the police department, the one that came up with the design and flyers and various things, and they were the ones that went around and basically papered all of our businesses, particularly the locations where cars were getting stolen from. And we saw a drastic change in the number of cars were stolen in this year because people were starting to pay attention to the work that they were putting in. So just as they go out and they put those signs together, responding to the crime statistics that they're getting, I would love it if Chief Malloy and Deputy Chief Malloy and Chief Sally would actually make it a point to encourage their officers beyond doing youth net basketball nights or doing the night out here over in town. I would love to see an incentive program put together that would allow coaching of the local teams done by officers. Even if it's just something as simple as like a day of games that is being held and maintained by the officers. Opportunities for them to engage that are hosted by the police department and then encouraged by the neighborhoods. But it's gonna require people in those communities to come out and visit them. Night Out is sponsored nationally, but it's never been more than a couple hundred people at any night out I've been to since 2003. That's 20 years of night outs, and it's never been a couple hundred people into Hard Park, which is like got parking and access and all kinds of great things. People don't come out. So folks, I as much as I don't want to say you can't complain and then do nothing about it and expect it to change, but you can't complain and then do nothing about it and expect it to change. You've got to get out. And if the police are giving you opportunities, join the community board on policing, go to the events that we put out, read the flyers, check in with the news, see what's going on. If you take advantage of the opportunities that have been presented, you'll have those interactions. Now, as far as the officers, I will tell you right now, post 9/11, post the incident in 2016, there's still a larger than I'm comfortable with number of officers who are afraid to go too far with the public because they're afraid it might be interpreted in a certain way, even though they have body cameras protecting them and us from things negatively occurring. But there's a fear there. So it's on both sides. The community is afraid of engaging and the law enforcement is afraid of engaging too far. We got to find that balance. Where we are, I don't know, but I'm hoping that within the next year or two, we'll be able to work something out between the community board of policing and our public safety department or public safety meetings to find that way of doing it. And if other people have suggestions of things they'd like to do, like your block party, I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah, we actually come, they mind the answer to this, so all that's in place. I guess I'm looking too at this from the standpoint of the basics and the simple things that they can do. I mean, a lot of things that you mentioned, yes, one night out is not going to, right?
Not going to change.
That's not going to change anything.
Tammy, I was gonna say, I like that you brought it up because there's, it's something that just hasn't been on my radar. I think COVID had a lot to do with it. It was under Jimmy Duvall, there was a lot more community.
You've done a lot more things.
Well, there was a lot more of the community policing too, and it's personality driven sometimes, but it comes from the top to be able to. So just based on your comment, I'll talk with Chief Sally, absolutely, and I'm sure Jamaine will as well, to try to get that as more of an important part, to go back out and be walking down in the village instead of just driving out in the car.
And you
And we
drive,
can talk to them,
drive by, connect. I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely,
absolutely.
straight ahead. But the other thing I was going to say, and I'm gonna leave this alone, but we can talk more about it, is, yes, over the course of the year, there have been, times when that existed. So the void that I see and for myself and for our neighborhood, it's there and it's real. And we have had everything from, neighborhood watch center, sport lines, we had a lot of good things going. It doesn't exist right now. So I'll do that.
We've got some younger officers that have been recently hired.
So I work with the community board of police. The community board of police recently had a retreat where they came up with some areas of focus, for areas that they want to work with this year. Number one area of focus is community engagement with the police department. So the community board of police has worked with the police department to create more engagement between.
And the new young officers that we've just recently hired, many of them are coming from college, either being recent college students or actually law enforcement officers on college campuses, where they've had that interaction with the students. So they're the new ones. They're definitely going to be easier to slide into those roles.
So these gentlemen, really be patient. We're gonna start here with you. Just a reminder,
I know it's not today.
and whatever question you would.
Yeah, so I'm Dave Herman, my district leader's here, so I don't have to say my office. I know it's not a debate, but by the way, if you, either of you want to debate me for an hour anywhere, any place, I will do that. I will do that. So we can really get into this issue. So my question, of course, is about Ritzer. There's a massive divide. It's a massive void between the people who think turf is this big evil thing and those of us who actually have real life experience. I think the difference is the folks who are against turf for environmental reasons or health reasons, or whatever they think the reasons are, you know, you could find justifications for your beliefs on blogs or on white papers all over the place, but in actual real life facts and experience, the justifications aren't there. We have 38,000 turf fields. There are not flooding and environmental disaster scope. We've had millions of kids playing on turf fields since the 60s. Nobody's got sick. Now, it's a total false equivalent saying the women's professional soccer team start. They do. But the people who run their leagues can afford it. It costs $85 million for maintenance and MDC. $85 million, right? And that's not talking about hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of gallons of water, pesticides, everything that you wouldn't want to have properly maintained. So with all due respect to Jamaine about training, it's not a matter of training. We could train our Department of Public Works, and I think they do it. That's what they can do. It's just impossible to maintain grass fields in the geography where we are. We're in a valley. And if you look across the street from Town Hall, it's a pond. After it rains, it's a pond. No amount of training is going to solve it. It's going to take a ton of money, much more than it would take to maintain an artificial turf field. You guys know this. You have the data. The Board of Education gave you the data about how much more it's going to cost to maintain a grass field. They have. I've seen it. It's public.
They didn't give you all the data because again.
I know. Hold on. I'm still asking my question. Okay, it's not a debate, right? And it's also a matter of common sense, right? The NFL owners aren't fighting to keep their artificial turf because grass is cheaper. They don't. All they care about is money, right? Artificial turf is cheaper. That's why they have it. And there's questions out there. Well, we're not going to be able to do as much. No, you're going to be able to do more, right? There's 1,600 kids at Columbia. Every one of those kids are going to have PE out there every day except for when it's raining. You got the plan. It's not just a small group of the softball girls. It's the cross, it's soccer, it's field hockey, it's the marching band. You know, I understand you have these environmental reservations, but we've already got a letter that says it goes wrong as it wrong. That's a hurdle that's going to be overcome, regardless of whatever anybody believes about it. The DEP is going to make a decision that's going to be right. As far as the drainage issue goes, the potential flooding for storms, again, we have tens of thousands of fields in this country. We know how to deal with drainage issues. We don't have these problems at Underhill. Glad Frank's here, you know, he can tell you. And if you ever go to Underhill, it's a great community center.
You mean men?
Exactly, right? I mean, any time of year where a lot of our other fields are underwater or under these plastic blankets, that part of the word plastic. Underhill Field, you can go to this weekend. In the dead of winter, it was freezing. It was packed with kids and adults playing at the community center, right? And personally, I don't understand. I know there's fear is a bigger motivator than hope often, and people are scared. But there's no need to be scared. I grew up in West Orange. I played on grass fields, dirt fields, more likely. I blew out my ACL and MCL on a dirt field. And the field that I played on, West Orange High School, which is now a beautiful turf field, my friend's mom still lives right on the bottom of that field. If there was ever going to be flooding there, she would have taken the front, but there hasn't been because they have the right drainage. We know how to do this. We know how to do this in this country. And what we also know that, and as you know, there's a massive problem between the disparity between boys and girls. And you said, who's been at them? A lot of us have been raising our hand for a long time. Nobody's dealt with it. And yes, we should find out who's accountable. But the question is, now you're in a position to do something about it. What are you going to do about it? And if you're going to vote no, you're going to try to block the turfing of Ritzer, which what I hear you're going to do. My question is, what is your plan to make the girls' sports equal to the boys' sports, give them everything that they deserve, and giving them one of the boys' fields is not the answer. Because the other problem is we simply don't have enough fields in this town for all the demands.
Well, to start, the first part of it, I have an NFL player neighbor who blew out his ACL. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. He's flat against turf. We have that meeting.
Well, you could pay
and-
for harassment.
That's one thing. Ridgewood, Westfield, quite a few have flooding. We have 2 current injunctions right now against neighbors on Parker and on some place for flooding. The damage that hasn't been repaired already at Windsor isn't being done or hasn't been done properly. Again, even with turf being put in place, artificial turf, apologies. We have to have the right foundation. And from the numbers that I've been given from people who are professional installers, even that additional 2.6 they're asking for isn't going to be enough. They'll be back asking for money next year before they even bring it down, because there's so much that's wrong right now with Windsor that it's not going to be able to repair. Will be offered, even if we give them that 2.6, it's not. At the same time, there's still ceiling tiles falling down our buildings. There are still paraprofessionals that are needed in classrooms that we haven't been able to hire. There are still teachers who aren't able to get CE dollars given back to them after they've taken courses to make them better teachers for our students, because we haven't been allocating the funds that we do have. I have spoken to marching band families who absolutely abhor, even when the band was in practice and everything working out there. I co-coached the children cheerleading squad at Columbia High School for 2 seasons. We would use the field for fall cheerleaders for that. At certain times of the day, we couldn't go there because of the stretch of the various things we needed to do on the ground, because it was too hot to touch. Yes, you can use the field now, but in the heat of summer, you cannot. Safely at certain times of the year. You allowed me to have your time. You interrupted me. I didn't call me on it. I'm calling you on it.
Well, I'm
This is
just
my
waiting for the answer.
my answer to your question is, what I'm looking at doing is all of that above. We need to hold the folks who are responsible for this. We need to fix our fields in a way, and we need to acquire more fields. Let's be honest. The reason why we have the crappy fields that we had, because if the land was great, there'd be a house on it. The land that we have left is what became the fields. So we've got to work with what we've got. And when we do have maybe new buildings that are coming in or new builds that could possibly happen, that's the opportunity for maybe as a township we can come together and get more funding so we can purchase that and turn it into a park. I look at Springfield, those apartment buildings. I visualize the most beautiful soccer field in the world, right next to that liquor store that's going in. And that's going to be a park. That's going to block the light from all the families that live in those houses behind it. And no additional green space. A lot more parking problems, a lot more green space. We've got to get more strategic with how it comes. And I appreciate your knowledge and what you say, I know, but I also know that I have a fiscal responsibility to make sure that the money that we were given is spent in a way that is most beneficial for most students. And there are things that aren't being done in our schools, but we're looking at extracurriculars, and I'm going to say it, extracurriculars as a priority over education in a district. That math don't math. It doesn't work.
So my question was, what is your plan to address gender inequality if you're not going to deal with it?
Oh, gender inequality, push for the athletic director if he's not going to split up and do a strategic plan of what we have, what time is available, how we can utilize it. If they're not doing that work, because I would think that's a basic job function, the athletic director. If they're not doing that, hold them accountable.
They need to, it's not our job on the township committee to determine the field usage for students.
That's the school board.
But it's also not, we are limited, we are built out, there's no room for more fields. The fields in the regular grass turf, they're still gonna get overused, you still need maintenance and water usage to keep the artificial turf. There's all sorts of issues with it. So yeah, we don't have fields for our kids. they can play on imperfect fields like my kids did, like I did for 35 years, but that also made me a better player, by the way. But regardless of that, the inequity is what they need to do with regard to planning, what the fields are. I mean, I'm not saying, obviously, we disagree on this, but I'm just asking you not to shake your head the whole time I'm talking. It's a little distracting. So but it's the school district's responsibility to ensure equity to students. If I were those students, I wouldn't want to play on Richard Field as a softball shortstop and third base person for 35 years. I would not want to play on artificial turf. But because diving for that ball is not comfortable on that. So that's just, obviously, we disagree with us, but I don't know that we can do anything about it as township members.
You could approve the.
I could approve the funding,
It's
but-
not gonna be enough. And they'll be back to ask to get more money.
My name is Tom St. Dennis. I'm at 78 Plymouth Avenue in Maplewood. Dave really asked my question, to be honest with you, but I'll just make a comment and maybe try again to get an answer because I don't think we really got one. I appreciate that you guys serve. I think that's excellent. All the time in the world, people who serve our community, I think that's great. But to me, people who serve also need to lead. What I just heard basically was, this is the board's problem. It would seem to me the fact that this vote is even in your lap suggests that the premise of you having a vote is that you have some say and you're supposed to help lead in these sort of issues.
Yeah, we have to
And-
say, I'm
Sorry,
sorry, I'm just clarifying.
what I've heard so far is an utter lack of leadership on this particular issue. It's the reason why we're here, so it means it's important to us, and as you know, you even referenced the fact that Wednesday is gonna be quite a night, because you're gonna, you said, I think you mentioned, we're gonna deal with this on Wednesday, and sort of this and this. What are you going to do to lead on this issue so that you can help bridge the divide between these two sides? When I heard all kinds of the facts that were put forward against the artificial turf, I heard all of these debunked one way or another, and it could be that I'm completely wrong. But what I'm hearing is I spoke to someone, or I know a guy, or that my neighbor did this. We have work that has been done, right? That has been handed to you. And now, the day before the vote, you're telling me that it's not actually complete, public has not had access to this? We don't have the facts, and you guys are just gonna vote because you have different facts, and we're gonna go, well, I guess they know better than us? Lead on the issue, please. And it's the last question again. What are you going to do to lead on this issue to create a solution that people can be happy with? I heard no vision about how we're gonna fix this problem between the disparity, other than we'll ask the athletic director to be held accountable.
Just a little bit, because at the beginning of the conversation that we had with our leaders over at the school district, to Mr. Burnside, we very specifically asked him to help us. It took months, and we basically kind of cussing them out with an email
Great.
to finally get it.
Perfect.
And they were incomplete.
Okay.
We asked for a series of Senate members. He said, no. How am I supposed to get the information when I will be given the information? And I ask, and the answer better fast. When I can't get them from him, I go to a professional who does artificial means, who works in a community that does these things, and ask them, hey, can you look at these numbers? Tell me what you think. Does that seem like it's feasible? Does that seem doable? And to have every single one of them say no, they're gonna be asking you for more money because there's a lot more that needs to be done. I cannot get any more answers than are being given. So what I'm doing is taking the lead by asking other people, since I can't get the information from the school board, who's supposed to give it to me.
So this, just to be clear, you're suggesting that the information that has been given, that has been provided to the public,
Is not fully fleshed out.
or is incorrect?
Hasn't been given to us
Do
fully.
you think we should vote tomorrow?
We're asking to sever it. We're asking to sever it. No, I don't think we should be voting on it tomorrow. Because we're gonna, if we vote on what they're asking for tomorrow, that 2.6, I can already guarantee you that in 2 years or less, they'll be coming to us for more, because it's not enough. There's so much that
And
needs
you
to
guarantee
be
that in
done.
2 years, our fields will be about these grass fields, the other scenario.
They'll still be working on Ritzer. I don't know if that feels to be better. Or are you talking about the others? My apologies.
Well, it's a larger problem than just Ritzer, to be frank, but we're talking about Ritzer as some movement towards a better situation for our field. Hopefully, so that my kids, when they get to high school, can actually play on some fields that they're proud of and don't get rained out all the time. So like, yes, it's something, but there's a huge issue in this town, as Dave said, and I'm not hearing anything in terms of how you plan to lead forward, or maybe it's just not a priority. I don't know. It's easy to go, no, I'm gonna vote against this. And what I'm not hearing is my bold solution is, and that's what I'm missing. So
I
that,
would like them to rebuild the field to make it natural grass and make it usable as natural grass. And you're not gonna agree with me, and you're gonna, and you know what, this was not, I had all my kids going through playing rec, playing cougar soccer, playing on all the sports, and we just played where we were supposed to play. And we didn't necessarily think that we should make an entire park plastic just so our kids could play. And then when they got older, it's no longer a vital issue in my household. So then it's not necessarily something that I'm gonna go fight for. But I will say, I have a binder on my desk in my office. Yeah, it may be important to you. I'd like to see.
I just, I have no answer. It's not something you're gonna fight with. That's perfect.
I'm not gonna fight for a plastic as.
Are you gonna fight for something?
I would like them to use, I would vote yes on the money if they were gonna reconstruct Ritzer and make it usable.
But you admit that it would have much less usability, right? Fewer hours.
No, I don't know that. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this.
Yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen. Our weather predictions years ago are not the same as they are now. We have more reading here.
Falls to the members of the township committee, as members of the board of school estimate, or essentially called them to vote on the financial aspects.
Only on the finance.
Decisions that they certainly discuss this with the Board of Education, but their role is essentially to vote yes or no on the budget.
On the money there.
And not on environmental issues, right, just on financial.
Well, this is.
But they can't, the same way you
So
have.
I don't know, you have a question as well, you've been waiting very patiently, so, just introduce yourself, where you live. Please.
Thanks. My name is David Marinara. I live at 37 North Crescent. I have a 5th grade boy and an 8th grade girl. 8th grader is a softball player. She plays in the Villagers teams. She'll be at CHS next year. She's my 5th grade boy plays on travel baseball teams. A quick question, the neighbor who Eagles, we grew out as ACL on turf. You can tell me his name, I might know what year, big sports here, what year that was, but do you know approximately what year that was? When it was in the 80s. Okay, so in the 80s, turf was poured concrete with a thin layer of plastic sticking up. It was playing essentially on concrete, right? As you both know, I hope, turf has advanced in many, many ways since then. It is more pliable, it's softer, it is playable. You can play on it without moving it. Back then, absolutely not. You had people who were breaking bones when falling on it in the 80s. So that's what Giant Stadium was. That's what the Astrodome originally was. So it's concrete with a thin layer of. This is not what turf is. You guys raised concerns about flooding. The turf is permeable. Turf is permeable. And you have a drainage system which the water goes through, it flows down, right? It does not flood the neighborhood, like some people have been saying, right? It's down, it flows downhill. That argument never made sense. I'll get to my question. My kids go to other towns to play, all the time. In every town they go to, they say, wow, those fields are having every single one. Some of that we can't do a lot of because of our geography. As Dave said, we're in the valley. Our fields both in South China and in Maplewood are in floodplain. There are restrictions in some places about development in a floodplain. I'm when I'm not coaching my kids' sports, I'm an environmental attorney and a land use attorney. It's what I do for a living. Some places you need a variant in South Orange to develop a floodplain. Same thing is true in the neighborhood. There's certain restrictions on what we can do. Other towns that don't have those challenges are able to maintain grass fields, especially the west of here, right? They have large amounts of open space. You go out to Chester, and Mount Olive, that area, awesome, right? We drive out there, my kids are like, look at this. It's acres and acres of green space that they were able to grade and flatten and turn into fields and still have acres and acres of, you know, tree cover and acres for bird watching. It's amazing. We don't have that. We never have, we never will. So when you say things like, well, we should acquire more land, are you talking about condemning single family houses in order to make fields? Where is the money going to come from for that? When you say, well, our plan is to hold people accountable or to replace rinser with grass, have you priced out what it would cost to rip up that block-filled, hot-hold field, grade it, and put down a new sod field? Do you know what the cost of that would be?
No, but don't they have to do the same thing to lay down?
So
But the question,
I disrespect intended, but if there's a question.
that's my question. Have you priced out what it would need to, and then the cost of water? We train our maintenance people. We have to hire more of them because as a Maplewood resident who makes use of Memorial Park, Maple Crest Park, the Hart Park on a regular basis, those fields they're not as suitable for athletic play. They're a disaster. You walk onto, you know, I live up at the hill from Memorial 3, right, which is a softball and softball field. But you walk to the edge of the infield, and then it's like you go down a cliff, it's the outfield. That's not where high school players can't play on that. Middle school players shouldn't be playing on that. Little kids shouldn't be playing on it. It's dangerous, right? You're going back for a pop fly, you're gonna fall in, you're gonna turn it, you're gonna injure yourself because the field is not, that's not what it's designed for. But we're making that work. But this is here a sense of hope that there is one step forward that we can take to take one field in this town, one field, and make it usable for the high school, which needs decent facilities. We're supposed to be preparing kids to play in college. And we're not, because our high school girls, as you know, they're walking to South Orange with backpacks on to play in a field that is not maintained and is not suited for what they need it for. We're supposed to be playing those girls preparing. Last question. It goes back to their question, which is, have you priced out the alternative? Would you say no? We'd like to have an alternative. Price that out. And what is the alternative? What would you say to my 8th grade daughter who's going to be trying out for the CHS high school team, who goes to every other place and says that would be awesome, and comes back here and says, oh, this is where I live. You say you want people to stay here and have pride in Maplewood. You have so much pride in Maplewood, but in this area, it's an embarrassment.
So the answer to your question of have we priced out, that was the question I asked the consultant who was presenting to us, what was it, 2 months ago? Or to give a comparison of what it will cost to rebuild Richard Field with natural turf, to do what work they need to do that. And they got insufficient amount of information to us, and we're hoping for more information.
So we're asking, we've been asking. I can give you an answer if I have an answer for you. I don't have one. So I haven't been given the information.
Because they presented. They presented.
We asked for them to price out what it would be, and they have
So
done
I
that.
think if I could, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna short of a couple of other questions here this evening. I heard Nancy say, correct me if I'm wrong, that if she was given a budget for what it would be to create new grass fields, that she would vote, and that's what her role is as medical person. So I'm not taking a side on this, it's just what I'm interested in. Diane, you have a question?
I'd like to say, you know, as what sports are, even if you look at you, they're not necessarily for everybody in town. There are many issues in town. I think we've had a full airing of this issue on both sides. I would like to call the vote.
But we're not voting tonight. We're voting on March 11th. The
We're
question,
doing what?
we're gonna vote to endorse on March 11th. Tonight is just our meeting to question the candidates and for the public to come and join us in questioning the candidates. So we will get to that, but we have more questions here. And, you know, we have given these gentlemen time to make their points and answer questions. We're gonna go back to other questions. I think Greg has a question.
After you. Oh, so, thank you. I have a process. Jamaine, I'd like to address it primarily to you. When I was mayor, I was on board of school estimate. Where it was, I don't know if you were on it anymore. Was it? What I was told our role was to take the policy, it's enunciated by the Board of Education, and represent the taxpayers, and see whether we could mesh that policy with what we thought were the appropriate burden on the taxpayers. We were not supposed to deal with the policy. We were supposed to see if the policy fit the platform. That was our role. I don't think the role has changed. You two are coming from a township committee, and my guess is that you don't represent the majority on this subject on the Lakewood Township Committee. You're coming to a board of school estimate after the board, which is charged with the welfare of the children, what we're talking about, has voted unanimously for children. And they are the ones who have studied this. They are the ones who are interested in education, athletics, and how it fits in with the total. And they have decided unanimously it's their policy that it's in the best interest of the children that they should have a term. So you two come in from the township committee where you're not the majority view. And you are now in a position to veto the unanimous Board of Education and go against the majority of your committee, which you actually come from. Do you think that's a proper role you could play? About this.
I know, but I'm just saying, we don't represent necessarily just our committee members on the township committee, we represent the community.
We're not getting
Yeah,
a
but
veto.
I'll tell you who represents the school. Not,
It's not a veto on the.
I'm gonna tell you who represents the school. It's not you. It's not the community at large. It's who the community at large has elected.
So my point is,
Let me discuss. It's who the community at large has elected to the Board of Education. They're charged with that job, and they have voted unanimously. But you seem to be willing to impose your judgment on those people. It's their job, and it's not your job. Do you really think that's fair?
we have the responsibility also.
I wanted to,
of-
I said I opposed it.
Okay,
Well, I will answer the question. My role is not to veto. I'm not planning to veto. I'm planning on saying, give me numbers, because I already can tell, and by the advice and the professional people who come to me and said, this is what it's gonna cost, and that what they're asking for ain't even close. I'm not wanting to do this 2 more years down the road. Give me the numbers I asked for so I can make a decision on the number you actually need, not on this, whatever you wanted to put together after having to have multiple emails go back and forth to get this tiny bits of information that we got. I'm not vetoing anything. I'm just not saying yes on the fiscal.
It's fiscally possible. You'd follow the Board of Education. And vote.
If they were asking for the number that was given to them by a professional organization that stated, yes, this is what it's going to cost to do all the things to make it possible, then yes. But also those installation numbers for turf, artificial and natural, were very close together. So either option would work if they're done, put in properly.
All right, so
A new field would be a new field.
Close question for you, and it really relates to the numbers, which really relates to what's going on with taxpayers stuff. So you're looking in the right direction. I think you look at those numbers carefully. You're gonna find, as these persons have told you, over the long haul, you're honest about it, it's gonna be a lot cheaper to have turf than natural.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, all right. thanks.
We have, Shannon has a question and I
Okay.
think Mitch has a question.
Okay.
Okay,
This is just a little devil's advocacy. I don't need anybody to answer this. My wife works for the Nature Conservancy. She's a fundraiser, but I've heard a lot from the scientists. Neither side actually has the high ground as far as water management. The water from our towns are still flooding Raleigh, and they're talking about putting up flood walls. The reason why is because the water that overflows our backyards, our downtown, and Maplewood flooded last year, goes into hard piping, which goes into those brick sluices, which goes through Milburn and shoots down into our rivers. And it's taking the pesticide, and it's taking the the thing that you put it, it's taking all the chemicals from natural, and it's taking the heat. We're actually changing the environment of our rivers because we're changing the temperature of our rivers. And all of us who have water coming right off our roof and going down into pipes and right out into the street, that's also doing that too. So nobody kind of has the high ground on the water issue. The other thing is on the safety issue, right? We can paint more road lines on the road and say, here's the bike lane, but I can point to no less than 6 new apartment buildings between Maplewood, South Orange, and Milburn. There's going to be a lot more car traffic, and we're not physically widening those roads, right? So you can paint more lines on them, but you're going to have more cars. And more cars, those families are going to have more kids and have more bikes. There's going to be more traffic on roads that are the same way. So it's going to be hard to actually do anything greater for safety just by painting more lines. Nobody has to answer any of those things. Those are just mine.
All right, thank you, Mitch. We have one question from Shannon Cuttle. Shannon, are you?
Shannon, do you want to, oh, yeah, there they go.
Hi, no, I think my question has passed the time. We've moved on to other persons in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. All right, so first of all, I want to introduce Jamaine speaking with us this evening and talk about why you'd like to be endorsed by the Democratic Committee, why you want to run again. For the members of the public for coming here this evening, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate you joining us, and we hope you've learned something about our process, the way we go through this process in terms of deciding who we're going to endorse. Now, I will tell you this, we do have some internal business for the Maplewood Democratic Committee to take care of now, so we're going to excuse this, Jamaine, and the members of the public, and thank you all for coming. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the support. Thank you. Yeah.